Hello and welcome everyone to the Anime Everyguys podcast, your one-stop shop for everything anime. With me as always, the man who's been frozen in stone for 3,700 years, trying to proclaim his true love, Adam.
Thanks, Andy. Great to be here. We've been off a couple weeks. Feels good to come back and we could talk about this new season.
Does it? Because I don't know, this season, man, we're a little lackluster. Normally at these beginning of the season, reviews, me and you sit down and pound through like every show, like quite a few shows. And I think last season kind of burned us out on a bunch of hot garbage. So we kind of we dialed that sucker back a bit.
I think you're right. You're right. Last season there was a bunch of garbage, and we're moving into this season, and it seems like we're just piling on some more garbage.
Yeah, I mean, don't get us wrong. We got some shining stars, some real good gems that are coming out so far. And the good thing about us taking that couple of weeks off, we really got our teeth into these episodes. Like there's some that already have like 5 episodes out, but for the most part, I think most of them have about 3 episodes out, which usually gets us a good inclination on whether or not it's going to be, a steamy pile of poo. But we're going to start off with something that wasn't, it's not too bad. Dr. Stone, this is a pretty highly hyped up one, before it even came out. This is a very, very popular and very successful manga that's been going on for years, to the best of my knowledge. I've not read it, but I've heard very good things, and a lot of people have been very excited for this. And, I've really been enjoying it so far. It's one of the ones where I kind of put on the back burner for a little bit. It wasn't my first thing that I started watching this season, but I just binged all 4 episodes that have came out so far, and I'm pretty well invested, I would say. This show, the whole shtick, the whole thing that's going on here, we got some high school students. And we got one that's, the really brainy, really nerdy one who's, a science is his deal. And then we also got the meathead guy who's, lovable, insert self character kind of that is trying to proclaim his love to this girl that he likes. And just as he's doing it, the world gets turned to stone. And by the world, I mean apparently only humans and birds, but no other animals. That's complaint number 1. I want to know why only birds got turned to stone and not lions, wolves, dogs, deer, nothing else. So that's my only real gripe from the first couple episodes. But it's a cool premise, and I really like the dynamic that the characters have, because they're obviously friends, but they're not like. We've been, BFFs since day one, really sentimental. They're more of just like, they realize that these two are going to be the ones that have to work together. And it's the amalgamation, the amalgamation. I don't know what word I'm trying to use. The coming together of these two individuals with a unique set of skills that are making it work and trying to recreate civilization. What have you been thinking of it so far?
I do agree with you. It's kind of a new concept. I don't know if there's been many apocalyptic type of shows out there in the sense of how they're doing it, or even in general. I don't think I've even seen any apocalyptic shows, but anime wise. But they're definitely doing a cool way about it, and but for I don't know for what reason it's starting to lose my interest in the fact that the story, they bring the characters in. I don't know if the story's kind of losing me because it's not really progressing the world itself. Now they're just running away from this guy, or they're trying to solve in tiny problems, not the big or overall picture. But that could be changing within the next couple episodes, because in the most recent one, we did see that there was smoke and there might be more than just these 4 humans alive.
Right. I think the main problem with the first couple of episodes is that you don't, because of the characters' dynamics, we have the very smart one that does all the planning and the one that follows him blindly because he's the brute force guy. He's the muscle, but he trusts him. There's no conflict being presented between the two, and I think now we're finally reaching that point of conflict because we're hitting an ethical dilemma. Third person that was revived from the stone with the elixir that he was able to come up with was someone who is very, very strong and able to fight, and apparently one hit KO a lion with a punch. What? But we'll forget about that part. But and it comes out that he's actually a very good person. At first, they were conflicted and thinking like he's so powerful that what if he wants to be like a dictator and rule over this land? Like we're not going to be able to stop him because we can't fight him. That's not our forte. But it turns out he's a pretty good individual. But he has a very different ethical viewpoint of how this new civilization should be created. His viewpoint is that all of the adults should be destroyed before they can be revived because they're the ones that have brought about war and calamity and death and taxes and oppressing other people, whereas he wants to bring just all the youth and then they can regrow this new world without all these terrible calamities, whereas our main guy, Brainy Boy Senku, is trying to revive everyone because that's the scientific way. He's pretty much in his mind playing a game of civilization is how he worded it. He wants to just bring everything back and see how far he can escalate mankind in the shortest amount of time possible. So now that we're getting that opposing viewpoints, that's coming to a clash because they're gonna have to kill each other because they're not wavering in their ethical viewpoints. Now we're starting to get some traction. We're getting gunpowder into the mix that could oppose the meaty the brawny guy. And with the most recent episode, like you said, we also see somebody else is coming into the mix, and they're going to bring to the table a completely separate set of ethical viewpoints on how this world should be run, I'm assuming. The other thing that got me really excited was, I don't know, did you watch the ending the whole way through?
Can you explain for the listeners?
So the ending I thought was actually really, really cool cinematically, and I don't usually watch these the whole way through, but for the first episode I usually bang it out just to see what it's about and see if it has like a cool song or something. But this one, it had like a cool combination of like real life imagery being like superimposed over this world that kind of gave it this weird vibe. But at the very end of it, it shows him running to a town that I'm assuming they're gonna build later, and it looks dope. It's like it's an island with like a bunch of little huts that they've built and like windmills or some shit and a bridge leading to it, and it just made me it got me excited because I don't know if that's actually going to happen and if that's actually going to be the town that they build and start their civilization with, but it got me excited. It very much reminded me of like a town you might find in like a Zelda game, like at the beginning of like Twilight Princess or something. That's the kind of vibe it gave to me, like a rural, small scale, but like still thriving community. So that did get me a little bit excited.
Well, I hope it doesn't turn into another civilization building type of thing.
Oh yeah,
like Slimy Boy or Nino Cooney type of.
Yep.
Thing again.
Every anime that's the thing of 2019 apparently is starting from zero to full blown king of a kingdom. Next up, we got one that I have not started so far this season, but I have been seeing some good stuff about. I don't even know how to pronounce this sucker.
I don't either.
Arifureta from Commonplace to World's Strongest. What have you been thinking so far?
Well, it's an isekai, so I decided to pick one isekai this season to watch. I picked this one, so hopefully it lives up to it. But I actually do enjoy it. The first 3 or 4 episodes that we've seen so far, it's about this class that gets summoned to another world, and but the main character we have ends up. Well, the class that gets summoned, they're considered heroes, and they're supposed to save this new summon. Well, not new. They're supposed to save this world that they've been summoned to, and so they each have their own special abilities based on, basically it's like classes and MMO RPG type of stuff. But so his ability is transmutation, and it doesn't really mesh well with fighting. So they get called and to do this mission, and something bad happens, and him using his powers doesn't really help out because he's not very good at battling. Ends up falling down a dungeon floor and is in a like a death situation where he's gonna die. It's like dire and whatnot. And the weird thing about this one is he's all by himself, and he's trying to make his way back, using his wits and his I guess transmutation power and other stuff. And we see him, go around hurdles based on stuff. Like the first thing, he gets his arm bitten off by a monster, so now he only has one arm too. So it's even worse than what it was when he started. But the cool thing they do is, instead of making him this helpless guy who they did, he ends up eating these monsters and becoming like a half demon type of thing, and starts getting more powers and powers. And actually now he's pretty powerful. And so now it's kind of like the other ones where it's an isekai where they become overpowered, but he became overpowered through, struggles. But that was just like the first episode. So now it's going off of him going up and trying to find his way out of this place. And he ends up finding this is the weird part that I thought was the strangest thing, and it kind of didn't mesh well. I don't know if I missed something, but he finds this like vampire girl, frees her, she joins he joins her in trying to get out of there. And then the next episode, they become a love interest type of like thing, and it's weird. Like I like it's like no inclination of them becoming a couple or like interested in each other until this last episode, and like kissing and like rubbing each other and hugging each other, and it's like very weird. So maybe it's gonna go down from here, but we'll see. There's some cool fight scenes, cool abilities. Like it's a fantasy thing, and like weird type of stuff like that. Isekai, I mean, like a video game type of thing, but he has a gun, so
jeez.
Yeah, he has two guns actually. Like the one I guess in the future that we see in the promos or what, the intro, that he gets two pistols, and that's what he uses. But in this most recent one, he had like this rail gun that just blew a 5-headed dragon to bits with one shot. So I don't know. Like I said, it's a little overpowered. It's kind of strange. Definitely a weird show. I'll probably keep watching it. We'll see where it goes, but I'm guessing it's gonna get very weird.
Yeah. If you could compare it to like one other isekai from like the past 5 years, like what's the most comparable, would you say? Like if you liked this show, you will like this one.
Okay. So what I'm thinking, it's kind of a mashup between a bunch of them, really. So sort of like a mashup between what's that one with the Grimoire to Ashes, or
okay, yeah, Grimgar, Fantasy, and Ash.
Kind of like that with the dungeon and like summon. I think they get summoned to a world where they had to do stuff. Another like what's that? The Demon Lord. The Summon Demon Lord one from like 2, 3, 4 seasons ago. It's kind of like that mixed together with a little, I would say a little darker. So it's
so I see what you mean by like the Grimgar, Fantasy, and Ash. Then like real world consequences, a little bit grittier, but still kind of lighthearted and animated in a similar fashion to like the How Not to Summon a Demon Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, nice. Next up, we got another highly anticipated one that we've both been watching, Fire Force. This one has got me really, really excited. This is the one that I'm like looking forward to every week so far. Even just like the first episode, what really got me excited, and this is how you can tell you're like an anime nerd, is the background animation of all the buildings and stuff. Right as the first episode starts, before they get to the train station, was just like so gorgeously made, and it just looks. It had the same feel to me as like Cabaneri of the Iron Fortress, and that it just got me really, really excited. Not to mention, this is, to the best of my knowledge, from the same creator as Soul Eater, which is, one of my all-time favorites. And for me, it gives off like where Dr. Stone, I tell me if I'm right in this comparison, but it gave me like sort of fairy tale-ish vibes. Not in the same like joking, like nothing serious, prolonged story way, but just like the general vibe of the show gave me like a fairy tale. This one feels more like season 1 SAO. And it might be a weird comparison there, but that's just like the general vibe the show is giving me so far.
Yeah, I'm not picking up on those, but
it might be a long shot. But anyway, Fire Force, definitely a different concept that I would have never thought of. Like when we first see the promotional things, I just thought it was going to be a bunch of firefighters, a firefighting show.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Show about firefighters, but the fires that they're putting out are actually demonic entities, and they're combating something called spontaneous human combustion, or where people out of the blue just combust into these what they call infernals, which are like fire demons. And the whole point of the Fire Force is to destroy these infernals so that the people can rest, and they have different roles in the squads. They have people that some have powers, some don't have powers, and then also there's people from like the church that help bless the infernals so that they can go away, go to wherever it is they go. But our main character, his deal, he has fire powers that allow him to like shoot fire out of his feet and limbs and stuff, and kind of blast around and run really quick and fly through the air, which apparently is not a power that is very common. It seems like a generational thing, is I think how they're explaining it. Like the first generation can slightly manipulate, second can make flames appear, and he can like utilize fire and self combust himself to provide these assets for the firefighting team. And at first I was like, okay, it's a cool concept. And so episode 1 got me really hyped. Episode 2 had me like, okay, is this just going to be how it is? Like the whole time they're just going to go and they're going to fight infernals, and maybe there's going to be a secret organization or something. It's like, but we've seen that before. But the most recent episode cemented like the intrigue for me and the mystery, and really got me excited because we get to learn that each of the different fire squads has like, their own self-interests almost. So in one way it reminds me of like, Bleach with the different, the different squads, and they all have like a leader and a specialty and self-interest. Like one of the companies is trying to help out the company that manufactures all their equipment. That's their self-interest. Another one is specifically tasked with trying to find out the explanation for spontaneous combustion. I mean, we don't know what all the other squads are about, but we do know what his squad is about, and it's kind of like the internal affairs of the Fire Force. And the captain of his squad realizes that there's probably something going on that isn't benefiting humanity within the Fire Force. And he's trying to get down to it. Like he thinks that they already have an explanation on why everything is happening, but someone is hiding it. And so that to me just made this show way, way more interesting, because now not only are we fighting this evil organization that seems to be coming up and fighting the Eternals, but they're going to be withholding information from one another and trying to get to the bottom of this. And we're also going to probably see some badass squad captains. And even the captain of Squad 1? Yeah. The guy with the eye patch, it gives me like Raleigh vibes. I'm all about the comparisons today. Like Raleigh from One Piece, old guy that's super badass. I think it's gonna be pretty good from here on out. Fight scenes have been awesome. Characters are pretty good. Has a little bit of fan service here and there, but it's to be expected with these kind of shows. What have you been thinking so far?
I agree with you. I think this one's probably number 1 of the season so far, episode 3 in. You're right. Cool concept. Haven't seen anything like that before. Kind of a little different and new. So nice to, get some. We like getting some variety up in here. A thing you did miss was that not only do they have their own prerogative, the squads, they also seem to not share the information with each other, which was another big purpose of, Squad 8 or whatever Shinra and his forces on. So we'll see that. And another thing, you mentioned that there might be some internal problems or something, they might know what the cause of what the infernals are and how they are. We see this villain, I'll put quotes around now because we don't know, the Joker with his smoke explosion ability with the powder and stuff like that, and he seems like he's going to be driving towards that. We saw him from the episode before that too, with him leaving the scene of the crime of one of the spontaneous human combustions. So there could be something in a relation with that. Maybe they know, maybe they don't. Maybe he's involved with the force. He knows some truth behind the actual combustion, says that his brother's alive and stuff like that. So we do get, a little dip into what the conflict is in the sense of villain-wise, and not just where's the story going.
We see what the squad's deal is and where their focus is. We see where Shinra's focus is on trying to find out what caused the fire that allegedly killed his family all those years ago. How are they connected? We also see these villains and realize that they must have some reason for telling him this, and some reason why they know what happened. And it seems like they got some beef with the Fire Force, like some distrust of it, and they're sowing seeds of doubt into the new recruits. Things I don't like about the show: the whole he's a devil because when he gets nervous he does this smile gag. I don't know how I feel about that one. But I know it's not going to go away. It's kind of like
that's going to be the imprint of the whole show.
Yeah, it's like Black Clover, Asta doing his like that noise. It's one of those. So I've accepted. It's just going to be a part of it. Yeah, kind of cringy. Same with Sword Boy, the knight, and his
I think I read a little bit. A summary before I delve too much into it. I think it gets worse with that with the knight thing. I think like something with his ability comes from his psyche, and his psyche makes it think that he's more powerful when he's a knight or a king knight or something. So I think we're gonna get a lot more of that too, and it's gonna be kind of weird.
Fine, it'll be great. It'll be fine. All the chicks on this show are pretty badass, like awesome fighters, like good. They at least all seem to have pretty good personalities and like good character tropes that I can go with.
At least so far.
But it's these main two boys. Like they gotta get something going here other than the smile and the knight persona thing. Next up, we got Vinland Saga. What have you thought of this show?
So just a little summary of it. It's like a Viking story about a kid who watched his father die, and now he's going off to avenge his father. So it definitely is a cool concept because we don't have many Viking based animes, so it's something different, but it's cool. Like they did show some fight scenes that are pretty good. The story seems to be prolonging a little bit. The first 3 episodes they decided to release them all on the same day and then go on hiatus for 3 weeks. So it was kind of like we binge watched the 3, kind of forgot what happened, watched the 4th one, and was like, oh, okay, who's this again? So wait, what? And so now those four episodes seem to be like a prologue type of thing going on with this kid's like upbringing and what the conflict of like why is he doing what he's going to be doing in the future type of thing. So has some good story building, kind of different Viking, probably keep watching it because it is Viking and something different. It's like how we like the samurai shows. It's kind of like a Viking show, so it's kind of like that.
Little bit of little historical aspect to it.
Yeah.
Nice. Next up, we got Is It Wrong to Try to Pick Up Girls in the Dungeon Season 2. If you thought we were going to give you a synopsis of what happened in Season 1, you're dead wrong, because neither me or Adam remember. I cannot remember. I remember bare bones. I know that the goddess and only has Belle, and Belle went into the dungeon for glory and to meet chicks because his grandfather told him like that's how you meet chicks. And I remember him getting his ass beat by a big minotaur and finding the blonde chick who he wants to get with, and then they get stuck or something in the dungeon and have to go down to some like 18th floor or something, and there has to be a rescue mission. But other than that, I can't remember anyone. Like there's people who I'm like, I should know who they are and why they're here, and I can't remember. I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch because like I remember it being a good show. It's just been so long since it aired.
Yeah, that's what you're talking about. That like these characters, there's like this party, and then they keep bringing characters up to Belle and Historia, and I'm like, they're talking to them like very casually, like they're friends, and I'm like, who are you? I don't recognize you anywhere. I don't.
Yeah.
Your name means nothing. Your looks mean nothing. I have no clue what you are. And then they keep going on, and like these guys are like helping him out and doing stuff like that. I'm like, why are you helping this guy out? You don't even know this dude.
We're just bad and we didn't research. And it's like my main one. I can't remember who is a god and who isn't.
Yes.
I like the samurai people. I know they're all together, but I don't remember who's in charge. I don't remember which one.
I think it's the long-haired black guy.
I think it is too.
Guy.
Yeah, I think it is. And I do remember bits and pieces of like the supporter chick running away from her.
I do remember that. Yes.
Familia, yeah. But this season, which we do remember because we just watched it, it's looking pretty promising so far. We're right out of the gate. We are going into a tournament arc, which I'm fine with. But you see, usually I get hyped for tournament arcs because we get to see all the cool characters in like fight settings. But this one's a little bit different because but this one, all we have is Belle versus an entire familia, a very large, powerful familia. And we already see like he's going to have to do some hardcore training because, just one of like their mid-level people from Apollo's family wrecks him like multiple times, wrecks him in a bar fight, wrecks him on the streets. Like Belle's definitely having like panic attacks at night because of this guy. But so far he's been, training a little bit. We see a conflict with the supporter and her previous family, which ended in a pretty cool way, I'd say. The whole conflict with that and the douchebag lieutenant of the family kind of taking advantage of the god, who seems to be very much distracted. Like all the god wants to do is make his wine. Like that's his purpose, and he just wants to make this wine. And so he leaves everything in charge to the lieutenant, who is a power hungry and takes advantage of all this responsibility and power that he now has. But luckily, the supporters, dedication to Belle kind of shines through and is able to solve the conflict. So I am excited because I do remember this show had some really great fight scenes in the first season, had some good characters, fan service galore. I mean, if the name didn't tell you, then well, it is what it is. We're not here for it, but if it's there, so be it. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good one, and it's always, this is a cooler MMORPG kind of style dungeon show. Yeah. One of the better ones, I'd say.
Yeah. And going off of that, you're a little bit summary there that's saying that you did mention that Historia only has Belle as part of her familia, but at the end of last latest episode, we see that all of Belle's friends decide to leave their familia and join his. So we'll see
Yeah,
if
right.
that means like it's if,
They're
if it's
permanently there, or if it's just a temporary thing for the war game.
yeah.
Next up, we got Lord El-Melloi II's Case Files Rail Zeppelin Grace Note. What? What kind of name is that?
So this is a continuation of, well, I don't want to say continuation, but it's a afterthought, or I don't know what the word is.
It is the newest addition to the ever-growing expanse of the Fate universe. This is another non-main series Fate offshoot show. And I think where this one falls in the infinitely sprawling timeline is it is the direct successor, sort of, to Fate Zero.
Yes, following the Weaver Velvet taking the title of Lord Melios II and taking over that mantle. Really, I was hoping for. I'm like, oh yeah, another Fate series. We haven't had one in a while. This is gonna be good. I was hoping for something like Fate Zero and the grand. What do they call that? Grand
The Holy Grail
games?
War.
Yeah, Holy Grail War, something like that. But right now, it's been like inter-family political drama with barely any action and a lot of dialogue discussing the concepts of the magic in this universe. And I guess it kind of makes me lose interest in my attention to it, because I don't know if I haven't seen Fate in a while, or if I just didn't pay attention to the actual concepts of the magic and that type of world building in that aspect. But it goes over my head, and I have no clue what they're talking about at the time. So I don't know if I need to like rewatch anything. But I'm telling you right now, that's not going to help. But maybe
I mean,
it will.
like if you're like a diehard Fate series fan, and this is essentially, I'm getting the vibe that this is pretty much an entire show of flavor text.
Oh, yeah.
This is like, yeah, like if you like the political struggles between the different families, and that's your jam out of the Fate series, which I can't imagine why it would be, but if that is your jam, this show is for you. Like if you're like, I'd really like to see the interweaving of personal connections with the Mages Society, which no one has ever said, but if you did say it, this is the show for it. Will we continue to watch it?
I don't know.
We watched it because it was a Fate show, but it hasn't stuck the landing thus far. Next up, we got To the Abandoned Sacred Beasts. This one, the way I described it to Adam, because he hasn't watched it yet, is it feels like it should be on Netflix. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those shows where it's definitely an anime, and it looks pretty good, but it's just like missing substance or like a good plot so far. It's the whole premise of it. It's like a military-esque start where it's giving me the same vibes as what's the show we dropped last season with the people that were useful in wartime, and then after wartime they were useless.
Fairy Gone.
Yeah, so I've just explained the plot of the show so far. So there's a war, and there's a whole like secret company that all is able to turn into monsters and beasts, and essentially like wins them the war. But as the war is ending, they realize that they start to lose their humanity and turn into the beasts and can't turn back human again. So they agree that if anyone loses their mind and becomes fully monster, that they would be the ones to, end each other's life. So because, there was a scene in the first episode where the military had to like blast the one that lost control with cannon fire and stuff. And that's not the way they want to go. So the war ends. There's a big betrayal right in season 1. Like people who we thought were friends end up, trying to kill the captain of the company and allegedly kill his lover, who is the person who created this whole shebang here. He wakes up. The war is over. Everyone's missing. and he's pissed because his best friend just betrayed him for his ulterior motives, and so now the guy is going off on an adventure to go find all of his squad mates and that have gone awry and monstrous and kill them. And so far, this show got the first what award of the season. It's the first show that made me out loud go, what? Just at the episode 2, we get apparently who's going to be his sidekick, the daughter of one of his squad mates that he had to kill the father, who was like this giant dragon, and she tries to track him down and shoots him in the chest with a gun, but it does nothing because he's a big, strong, sacred beast man, and she decides, well, since I can't kill you, I'm going to follow you on your adventure to find out why my father had to die. And it just that little bit of dialogue, I was like, oh, you couldn't have gave me a better reason why she's coming along. Like it feels very much like Fairy Gone in that way, where it's very similar structure. It's probably going to be like somewhat episodic with little bits of plot here and there. They go, I'm assuming how the structure is going to be is we get an episode, they go to a new town, they do some bickering, they find a new sacred beast, they battle him, they kill him, and we get a little bit of plot from the main villain. And it's going to go on for about, I'm assuming, 10 episodes, and then they're going to jam all the rest of the plot into the last 2. And then it'll be over. That's my expectation. I guess we'll see if I hit it on the head. Following up with one of our favorites that is continuing to air this season, we have Demon Slayer, still killing it.
Still killing it.
Yeah. What have you been thinking so far? We have now been, truly immersed in Boarhead Guy, who is
so now
quite
we have all 3 of them there. They're 3 amigos. Get to see their dynamic together. See their relationships together, and they are constantly butting heads. Every one of them, something going on. Each of them bumps heads with each other. Each have their weird inner relationship with each other. They don't get along in the sense of best friends, but they have a good dynamic, I would say, for our story purposes. But we also see their abilities and how cool they are in this couple episodes coming up. Like we finally see Boarhead Guy and his ability to sense things, and it's more like he focuses up and creates a bubble around him that expands outward, and then he finds people by doing that. So I don't know.
Yeah, and I think because they gave a little bit of his backstory, and that it looks like he was like an orphan on a mountain, and so identified more with like the beasts and the animals in the mountain. So I think his whole power set is going to be predominantly based on like wild animals. That's how his fighting techniques are. They're wild and untrained and just brute force. And even like his senses, he senses things like an animal might, hear a crack of a leaf or something and know something's there. And it's just like an overall general sensing ability.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And you can, just like everyone else who seems to, their powers come from some part of their upbringing or some, special part of their past, kind of.
Now we got some of his background. We also got some of Zenitsu's backstory about him being trained by his grandfather, and he's kind of cowardly, and he's hiding in a tree because he doesn't want to train or something like that, and he gets struck by lightning. That's why his hair is blonde.
Yep. Which is, I guess it was a cool connection. And we also find out a little bit later on with Zenitsu that he was trained in a certain sword style from his grandfather, who was also a demon slayer, and actually made it to the highest class.
Yeah.
So like this guy was the real deal, even though he doesn't exactly look it in the flashback. He's like an old guy with a big mustache and like a peg leg. But he's definitely seen some stuff. And what I thought was cool was that apparently there's 3 forms to this lightning kind of style that he was being trained in. But as you know from Zenitsu, like he's kind of a screw up. Like he's not can't do anything. He's very cowardly. But he said his grandfather still reassured him and pushed him and made him train hard and believed in him. And told him, even if you can't master all three, at least try your best and just master one of them. If you can't do everything, put all your effort and training into just one and do it perfectly. And that's what we got to see with the most recent episode was the fruits of his labor. When he's passed out with one of our spider adversaries, hits him with an absolutely gorgeous attack scene. Like it was badass.
Oh yeah, very hyped up too. Like we were like, oh yeah, we finally get to see another one of his moves because it's been a couple episodes since we've seen one, and we see him do it, and there's like lightning going everywhere, flashing. He's like flying really fast. The spider guy can't keep up, and it's like just what we wanted, what we needed too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and there was some cool fights and cool development before that too. Right now, the mission they left their. They're now all healed up. All their wounds are healed. They were staying at that one family's house with the old lady. They left there. The most recent mission they're on is on this like creepy mountainside, and it seems like there's multiple demons on this mountain. And I think they said there's like 5 different parts of the family. We heard from the different spider demons. And they're very, very powerful. Just as they're making it to the mountainside, there's dead bodies of all of these other demon slayers, these like rookie demon slayers. They sent like 10 initially, and they all got pretty much wrecked, except for like one who's kind of he's not the best, but he's adequate. And that's what he was saying too. Like he's terrified, but at the end of the day, he was able to at least fend off some of his dead teammates, fellow demon slayers that are being controlled by webs like marionettes, which is it was a pretty cool idea.
Jumping in there a little quick there, but it also seems like when Tanjiro talks about his class as a demon slayer, the other guy, the other demon slayer says, "Oh, you guys are only that level. Oh no, why would they only send them to help us? Why didn't they send top tier?" So it may actually be that they are underclassed in fighting these demons too.
And it shows because whoever is sending out these orders and these tasks sent 10 people at first and then sent 3 people. So is that saying that those 10 are comparable to just those 3? And even then, I think Tanjiro and our other 2 boys are gonna should prove that I think they're of better stuff. Their rank does not reflect their abilities right now. But we did see that they are sending some 2 top tier demon slayers to the front now that they know that the 10 were wiped out. And we get our boy from the first episode and also this girl who looks like she's going to be pretty powerful as well.
And we also find out from the one demon that Tanjiro did end up killing. And basically the demon actually accepted death because she wanted to get out of this hell that she was in. Apparently, there is one of the Demon 12 there in the forest. So,
yeah, and right where the most recent episode left off, we're now fighting the father of the family, who I'm not sure if he's going to be the big bad, because we also have 2 more after him. So far, they've killed the mother, who was the puppeteer one, and we've killed one that is full-blown a spider and turns other people into spiders. Our boy Zenitsu wiped him out, one-shotted him. So now we have at least the dad, the gender ambiguous son and or daughter, and I think one more theoretically.
Yeah, I think we might have seen 2 younger humanoid demons.
Yeah, maybe that's why I'm confusing it. I think there's a son. I think there's a daughter.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think we're still moving in a good direction. We're still moving on with good solid pacing, and the power scaling has been pretty good so far. Like the demons that they're facing are just always a little bit more than where they're at. Like there's no easy fights, and they're definitely progressing as they go. Next up, we got Black Clover. What have you been? How's Black Clover been going? I know I'm behind on this one, but we've had some big stuff happen.
Yeah, we've had some good story progression here. I don't know where we last left off, but we had the Royal Knights jumping in and storming the Eye of the Midnight Sun's fortress. We had some good fight scenes in there. We find out, spoiler alerts, we find out that they're William Vengeance, or whatever his name actually is. I can't remember his last name. But we find out that he has another soul in his body who's actually Lich, the leader of the Eye of the Midnight Sun. So that could have been really it probably is, the leaking of the information and stuff through William, and this other soul inside his body. And we find out later on in the episodes, we find out what the real intention of the Eye of the Midnight Sun was, and it really wasn't to take over the Clover Kingdom. It was to fight back and kill the humans because of the humans killed the elves or something. So what they're doing is using the magic stones to reanimate. I don't know if that's the right word, but reanimate or put the elf souls in human bodies. So now the elves are back to seek revenge on dying. So that's what the true intention were of the Eye of Midnight Sun. And what Lich does is, seems like he's gonna turn against the humans that didn't get turned into the elves because he hates humans. So we'll see what happens. Another big spoiler: R.I.P. to King Julius. Lich ends up killing him as he defends the Clover capital. So we don't get to see too much of King Julius's mega ability other than him freezing time and stopping an attack. But we do see him fight Lich, and that was a really good fight scene. I would recommend, if you're not caught up or if you don't like watching it, I would recommend just looking at this fight scene, because it actually is pretty good. Episode 93. So if you want to check it out.
Nice. And one last show that we're not going to talk a whole lot about, but we are just going to recommend, because we both started watching it dubbed, because sometimes it gets old watching this amount of subbed, and sometimes you kind of want to lay back and have a show to relax and just kind of listen to, and not have to put all your focus into. Fruits Basket, which normally I wouldn't think that this would be our type of show, but it proved me wrong, at least in the first couple episodes. Like the name and the pictures don't support the type of show that it actually is, I don't think.
No, and I don't know if it's because we jam ourselves, our anime list packed full of fighting and shonen type of shows, and this one is not that at all. So it's more of like a
like slice of life, love interest kind of.
Yeah.
But still
thing.
Good. Yeah, good dramas. We always need a good drama. I think every season we say these drama shows, we're like, this really isn't our type of show, but we keep watching it, and it always ends up becoming our favorite show of the season. Yeah. So maybe we're hiding our true emotions. Really, we're drama anime fans that watch some shonens. I don't know. But this is a good one, and it's also a very well done dub in my opinion, and the animation for it is very good as well. And to be more specific, I guess we're watching the 2019 version, because this is a reboot of an older show.
Yeah.
So it looks good, sounds good. It's probably gonna stay pretty good. And with that, I think that wraps up all of our new shows for the summer 2019 season. As always, thank you guys so much for listening. We really, really appreciate it. Your support has been pretty awesome, and we'd like to continue to grow the podcast. If you have any friends that are into anime and need some recommendations, or just like hearing some analytical discussion about anime, make sure to recommend us. Also, try to support us by following us on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and make sure to check and see every other Friday for new episodes. I know we've been on a pretty inconsistent schedule lately, but with the new season starting, we are going to be ramping it back up onto the every other week cycle. So, as always, stay cool. Country roads take me home.
Country roads take me home.
West Virginia, South Tokyo.